I'm Courtney James, and I'm here with Gary Lohman, the VPX of 9 Mile Metals, and Patrick Cruickshank, CEO and Director. Good morning, you guys.
Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning, Courtney.
How's everyone doing?
In the middle of a snowstorm.
Ah, well, good,
Ouch.
good to know that you're out at 9 Mile and embracing the environment.
Just when you think winter's over, Gary.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
always that one storm around beginning of April, right?
Yeah, and it's a blizzard.
Oh
Wow.
gosh. Well, so you put out some news this week, and I was just hoping that we could dive a little bit into the meaning of it. So, Gary, I was wondering if you could just give us some insight into it.
Yes, if everyone remembers correctly, when we went out to the Wedge, our first drill hole was drilled on the south face in the lower part of the historic target. This was primarily due to weather and access. To get up top where we had some priority holes, we couldn't get up a hill, and we were waiting to get a second bulldozer in place. So we collared a hole in the footwall sediments, and we drilled, I think the azimuth was 330 degrees, minus 45, into the hill. And that's where we cut that nice intersection of copper with some silver. We're finding with the drilling, the geological contacts seem to be very important here, with contacts between sediments and volcanics, and also there's structural contacts here. There's an argillite out there that appears sheared with some graphite. There's another marker horizon that we've seen, and I remember the Department of Mines talking about it, where there's actually, with the shearing, you're getting clasts of sulfide-rich clasts and some sulfide sediments in it. So these, even though this was, I'd say, not as thick a horizon as the others released, you have to remember that this was drilled at the base of the hill. The other holes were collared approximately 130 to 140 meters north of this, and probably another 50 meters in elevation higher. So they'd be drilling, we've got one drilling this way and another one coming down this way. So you'd have a larger intersection here and a small one at the bottom. But we just continue to hit mineralization. And although, there are some very nice, solid, massive VMS, there's also sort of a carryover. There's thinner bands of peritic VMS below it, and that's where we're getting the wider sections. It may not be solid. It might compose anywhere from maybe 40 to 80% of the rock, but it keeps coming through, and that's why we're continuing to assay everything, and we're getting the wider intersections. And I think we'd mentioned it in one of our releases. This is peritic VMS, so it's very hard. We didn't include many close-up pictures because it just looks like grayish or sort of brownish gray pyrite. But there is copper, lead, zinc. It's just so fine-grained you can't discern any of the individual minerals. But the XRF and the assaying is picking it up.
And how far apart are the two holes?
The other holes are located at the top of the hill. They're about 130 to 150 meters due north.
Okay.
And drilling back towards where the first hole was collared.
So it's to be expected that we're dealing with different widths.
Yeah, if you remember on the map, that's a fair distance. And like I say, the elevation's probably about 50 meters up.
But it seems like we're dealing with like some good extensive copper throughout, so that's nice and consistent.
Yes. Yeah, like I say, it's just not that solid VMS horizon. There is copper on both the flanks, and you're getting also a separation between copper zones and some zinc, where maybe you get out of the VMS and you get into maybe some sediments, you'll start to get a bit more zinc.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier something about folds throughout that you're kind of noticing. Could you speak to that and why that's significant?
Yeah, this is where the model will come in, because this is appearing to be a lot of structure involved. Like there is the contacts between like an argillite, or we're seeing faulting where they'll get shearing like this with graphite.
Right.
And there's also evidence of folding on a small scale. There's some, looks like marine sediments like shales and things, and you can see little mini folds in that, but then also evidence of folds that are over, 10 meters in width.
Wow.
So we're dealing with not only a faulting, we're going to be dealing with some folding too. And as everyone knows, the Brunswick mining camp's gone through about, I think it's 5 phases of intense deformation. So the model will be very important.
Thank you for that update. And then Patrick, I would love to hear some of your thoughts from a corporate standpoint on the latest news that went out.
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited and with regards to this program, and remember our mandate is to prove out this mine has a bigger footprint, and we're concentrating on target 1. I'll just share my screen real quick. And we are down here, and remember, this is new technology. We're not just going to the old mine and doing step out drilling. We are introducing new areas of target based on EarthEX's reprocessing and late time strong conductor axes. So right now we're on target 1, which is east, and as you can see from the success of 2 holes so far, we are getting solid unmined ore and VMS in the hole. If everyone remembers why we came here, was the only project target that was available at the time due to the weather and the availability of water for the drilling. So for the month of April, as we're analyzing this program and finish all the cutting and sampling and getting all 9 holes to the labs, you've got this massive trend here, and we know we've got VMS here, and this is a new target. So there's this trend. We did acquire target 6, just re-emphasizing to folks out there, target 6, which we believe is the extension of this trend here. And we drilled target 8, these holes last year in the spring, and got 8 out of 11 holes of VMS up to 20 meters just on 100-meter exploration drilling. But we believe this is the source up this trend. So, and we still have to circle back to target trend number 10. So the month of April, our technical team and our group, we have good funding and for flow through, and we're going to now that we can get access to this, not just finish the analysis on the Wedge program that we just finished drilling, but also we're planning for May, because April is the muddy month, and apparently Gary said winter's still upon them. So we have a month to catch up and then get to our priority targets to continue our drill programs in May. So the nice thing with May, everybody will remember, we'll have access to the track mount rigs again in May because of the weather. So we'll be able to quickly get in to small areas and quicker time between holes collaring too, because you're not using bulldozers and moving big containers around 5 and 6 hours to spot the hole. Within an hour you're good and you keep going. So we're pretty excited with this. We are looking at advisories right now for doing obviously some advanced geophysics, because remember, we didn't do any advanced geophysics on this side. I know this looks advanced, but I mean with our drones and our grids over top of these targets. So our first round of expectations is show the VMS system is present on any of these targets, and then circle back with the more expensive high definition advanced geophysics programs. So that's what we want to do on targets 8, and we're going to do some exploratory drilling on target 6 on the red conductor lines. You can see the red conductor lines on 6 and all the way up here where they should be. And there's Canoe Landing on that 33 million ton deposit. I mean, the conductors are all showing up where they should, and they're all in the trends, the nodes and the elongated trends. I mean, so we're very, very excited to launch into our portfolio here with full access to all these targets and prioritize them.
Right.
That's best for the use of funds for our shareholders' valuation.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have to circle back to the Eastern portfolio. We should have our analysis coming back from that. In that portfolio, we acquired a lot of ground in the last year on that with new targets outside of our original grid for the lens, and we'll be coming out with a similar roadmap for our Eastern portfolio.
Thank you for that update. And so, when we talk about the potential of the wedge, is it to help paint that whole picture, or, like what's the opportunity involved with hitting some of these targets?
Or do you want to attack that first from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, these are very large targets, large trends with mineral occurrences, showings. And like as Patrick said, going back to we've shown where the VMS is. Now we can expand out, and with new technology and some advanced geophysics, we can extend those trends and really tighten up our targeting, both on this side, like the west side of the camp, and the east side in our Eastern portfolio. And April is just tightening up getting all the technical data together. And people got to remember that we've been sort of continuously drilling,
Right.
and we do need this time to pull all this data together and have the technical team review it,
Right.
and the consultants that we use, so we can best target for 2024.
Yeah, make the good, strong decisions going forward from that. But we need to do it,
Specifically
Barry.
for
That's
the
what we
wedge.
need.
Yeah, specifically for the wedge where we are now. Now we have access to all that historic drill data, surface and underground. So if we prove out target 1 as an extension and new extension of the traditional, because we're really trying to prove, and this is what orphan mining acquisitions are all about, is proving, 50 years later, you have new technology, can prove it's bigger, deeper, recoveries are better. They didn't even assay for gold back then or anything, like they didn't have ICP in the 50s and so on. But if we can prove that wedge mine area is economic and bigger, say 5 to 7 million tons, you've got a mine.
Yeah.
And we believe it, it's deeper and there's more there and on the west side. But if you take that trend, because remember, VMS deposits cluster.
Mm-hmm.
The West Wedge and Tri-Bag, where there's VMS, you just don't get a VMS by itself. It's got to be a source, right? And you've got target, I believe, 7 as well. So it's like you got this whole trend to extend to with our next phase.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the trends as a target, not just,
Yeah.
It was just a micro target that we got into the wedge area because it was the only one we could physically get into with water. So now that's why we have the anomalies outlined in trends. That trend is its own system. So that is what we're really going to attack. And people got to understand, we have years of drilling just in the Western portfolio of really optimistic technology and targeting. And when we bring in EarthX in the next phase, it's going to be pretty amazing when you get that 3D subsurface modeling on the wedge and that trend from EarthX. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll just also mention along the trends, like where Patrick mentions, where EarthX has, they've got their red conductors and all that. These are mineral occurrences. It's not just, grab samples. There's zinc and copper at surface. They're drill hole intercepts. Like these are previously, defined targets. They're just, at the time, the work was just very limited. And with, more advanced geophysics and analysis now, we can expand on that and better target the trend.
But the biggest thing with one of the biggest advantages of EarthX is their proprietary algorithms for reprocessing, which is great. But then their late time conductive response, and the theory there is massive sulfides will hold that charge longer than a disseminated or a vein-based system where it doesn't hold the charge as long and it's dissipated. So that's part of it as well. It's an identifier for one of their 50 or 100 boxes to check. So
Yeah.
it's worked so far. It worked on California Lake East. We hit VMS on that with our exploration phase 1, with the reprocess and the advanced geophysics from existing data versus their own data. So that's we're trying to be prudent with money and get as much reward and return as possible for shareholder investments. So to just go chasing with everything in advance is very expensive. We want to find the presence first and then see, hey, from these drill holes, does it warrant that bigger investment, which obviously the Wedge does. If we can prove out this extensions, improve it's bigger, have the model, but then come in with the drone and the ground-based EM and really zone in on that one area. And they want to extend it to the tri-bag and the West Wedge and do the trend. So it'll be, and again, that's just one of, you saw the map, about 5 or 6 high priority trends for different reasons, and new, so we're very, very excited. And, this is Gary playing in his treasure box. So, he's always happy. So, we'll keep him busy and working so he doesn't grow old. If you stop, Gary, you grow old, right? So
Yeah,
keep
that's
you going.
right.
Well, and at least, the blizzard is keeping you inside looking over all those results.
Yes.
Perfect. Well,
Keeps the
thank you.
streets safe of Bathurst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep the town of Bathurst safe from Gary. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe both.
All right. Well, thank
So
you.
it's almost time for Gary to go back into the warehouse, Courtney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
we're busy.
yeah, I look forward to more news coming out next week that we can dive into and continue to see these results paint this big 3D picture that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, keep
Great.
us up to date, Gary, on the weather and the accessibility that's happening in the next couple weeks. So
Yeah.
we can report what, when we have full access to all those targets, at the end of the month or so on, and we'll prioritize those.
Yeah.
But, fun times ahead. Fun times ahead.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. We will chat later. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.